Hasten here, Israel Uncensored, Land of Israel Network at thelandofisrael.com. It is a beautiful day in Jerusalem, Monday the 25th of September, the 5th of Tishrei, the brand new year, 5778. Hope you had a meaningful Rosh Hashanah. It was a long one, a 3-day holiday this year, 2 days and then Shabbat. I had a wonderful, wonderful experience, I'll tell you that, in the Shomron, in Samaria, up in the Kedumim, the town of Kedumim. It was beautiful, and I hope you enjoyed it as well. Don't forget, you can always get in touch with me during the week, Josh at thelandofisrael.com, on Facebook, Joshua Hasten is my name, and on Twitter at Josh Hasten. Keep those emails coming. Keep sharing your experiences. Let me know what you think of the show. Love the show, hate the show. Whatever it is, I don't mind. Go ahead and share, and I'm happy to share your comments on the air. I am here near the old city of Jerusalem in one of the hotels, sitting in the lobby with Rabbi Ben Packer. He is my guest today on the show. He is the director of the Jerusalem Heritage House, and we're going to find out exactly what that important facility, that important organization does. So without further ado, Rabbi Ben Packer, thanks for joining us here, Israel Uncensored, Land of Israel Network at thelandofisrael.com.
Very happy to be here. It's an honor.
How was your Rosh Hashanah? Let's start by that.
It was wonderful. I got to pray at the Western Wall and even at the small Western Wall, which many people are not familiar with, a part of the Western Wall in what they call the Muslim quarter that's actually closer to the temple. And we got to share a Rosh Hashanah experience with people who, maybe have experienced it here and there in the past, but not really a real Rosh Hashanah. And they got it this year, and so it was great.
Beautiful. Tell us, if you can, tell the listeners, what is the Jerusalem Heritage House? I see pictures of you on Facebook doing a million different things, involved with so many different projects and good causes for the Jewish people here in the land of Israel. Start off by telling us, what is the Jerusalem Heritage House?
So it's a very unique organization, so it's a little hard to describe, but basically we're a facility in the old city of Jerusalem that hosts Jewish travelers, students, and lone soldiers. And basically the purpose is to help these people connect with Judaism in Israel. So all of these people are out of what we call the yeshiva system, if people are familiar with that. They're not in yeshiva, in a regular Jewish educational institution like so many thousands of people in Israel are. So they're looking to connect. And so we're trying to connect them. So there's many different ways of connecting people. But just by staying in the old city of Jerusalem is already a major connection. And from there, we connect them with everything that we think is good for them to make a better connection to the Jewish people in Israel.
So explain, let's say you have someone coming over from the U.S., he's in a college, or he's just trying to discover his roots about Israel, and you mentioned that you guys are a hostel, more or less. But, what happens? You show up at the front desk looking for a place to stay, and the next thing you know, you're out, doing a bunch of different activities, meaningful activities for the land of Israel. How does it all work?
It's very interesting. Yes, that is how it works. And it's interesting that in the information age with the internet and all these things, it's still not so easy. There's a lot of fake news out there, as we know, a lot of fake news. And so we direct people to things that we think is important and we think that they'll find important. And they're not going to be able to access this information online so easily. Even things like the City of David or the Western Wall tunnel tours, which are obvious to so many Jewish and non-Jewish tourists to Israel, they don't necessarily know about them or know how important they are. When it comes to projects, we spend a lot of time and a lot of effort identifying projects that make real difference and that our guests can really contribute to. We're not going to send somebody necessarily to weld something if they don't know how to weld or something like that. But if there's a project that they can seriously contribute to, we're going to send them. And it is true, we have had guys who within 5 minutes are loading a tractor in a neighborhood in the Muslim quarter where Jews haven't lived since 1936. Yes, we do stuff like that, but they'll never forget it, and we'll always connect them to the land.
So but if somebody just wants a night to stay, can they do that? Or is there some type of requirement in terms of getting involved with activities? And then, piggybacking on that question, I mean, how does it work in terms of the people who show up? Do they all of a sudden form a group and say, all right, we got 10 guys here, let's get on a bus? Exactly, how does that situation work? I mean, can somebody just come show up and say, I need a place to stay for the night? Or is it, okay, now we're going to get on the bus with 10 other guys and go take on one of these projects?
Well, we have no requirements. There are no requirements in the house. However, we do want people to experience Israel. We don't require it. Yes, people do show up and just spend a night, which is fine as well. Everybody has their way. Every person is unique, and every person has a unique experience. So we don't have any cookie-cutter situation where everybody does the same thing. Everything is different. Everything is changing all the time. It's very dynamic. literally every day. Some people engage with the house and the other guests, and others keep to themselves and do what they do. Everybody's different. We know that. It's not our job to force people to do anything. It's our job to enable them through opportunities. And if they take advantage, they take advantage. If they don't, they don't.
But I've seen your guys, the guys who stay with you, take on some of these projects and get some of the experiences that I would say, unfortunately, maybe 70 or 80% of the Israeli population doesn't get to do, doesn't get to see. Just an example for those people out there listening. I saw images of Rabbi Ben here and some of his, what would you call them, some of your disciples or guests at the Jerusalem Heritage House, friends, last week. Down in Hebron, apparently some type of window was destroyed, which was used as a protection for soldiers, a protection from the elements, from the wind, from the or whatnot. And you guys went down there and said, okay, who's going to help us fund this project? And let's get these soldiers who are guarding the residents of Hebron a new window. I mean, tell us how something like that develops, where you're informed about a need, and then you actually go out and fulfill that need.
It's actually quite simple. Since we do host lone soldiers, and I was a lone soldier myself, the Israeli army, for all its great qualities, you have to kind of been there to understand it. And sometimes things slip through the cracks, especially when, you're doing serious things like the Israeli army is. And something like a window and a guard post isn't necessarily the number one priority. But we know that it affects soldiers. We're dealing with lone soldiers in general, and these people are especially susceptible to, their parents aren't here. And therefore, they need a little extra care. But we extend this extra care to everybody. So when we go to army bases, we're looking for lone soldiers. We're looking for lone soldiers that we already know, lone soldiers that we don't know. We want them to know that they can come to Jerusalem and stay whenever they want, do their laundry, chill out, use the Wi-Fi, whatever it is. But in the course of that, of course, we meet the other soldiers, and we understand their needs as well. And the idea that soldiers, some people would say, how could it be that a guard post has a broken window? And it could totally be. Who knows what the guy who's in charge of the windows is actually working on instead? There could be incredibly important things he's working on, or it could have slipped through the cracks. It really could go either way. It doesn't really matter. We know that there are many Jews out there and non-Jews out there who want to help the Israeli army, and there are certain ways to do that. And then there's other ways to do that, and that's the ways that we find. Little things here and there that make their lives easier, and, they're able to do their jobs better.
And let me ask you this. I mean, do you have experience in carpentry, in plumbing, and all these other things? And I ask you because I've seen some of your posts on Facebook where you'll go into a house, whether it's in the Old City or the City of David or the Yemenite Village or some of these other places, Hebron, and you and your guys are getting your hands dirty, actually doing the repairs yourselves. I mean, do you have a background in this type of work, whether it's carpentry or plumbing? I mean, how are you able to? I mean, I know myself, I can't even change a light bulb. I'm embarrassed to say, or hang a picture or any of that stuff. I mean, how have you developed it? Is it a skill that you've developed over the years? Something you've learned? And how are all these guys able to get on board on the same page for one project in order to do a renovation or to do as you said last week, or change this window for these soldiers? How does that all work out?
Well, first of all, I'm from the South, so we tend to be a little more self-sufficient. But the reality is we've been doing this for a while, and I wouldn't say we're professionals in any way. But you learn how things work. Some people more than others. Some people, of course, are better at some things than other people are. And some people are better at just moving rocks and carrying buckets. Everybody can do something. And most of our jobs that we're involved with is filling holes that other people either can't fill or don't want to fill. And so we can do that. We have a lot of experience now. When we started, of course, we were just moving stuff. And now, yes, we are actually fixing stuff. And some of our longtime guests and lone soldiers have learned important skills that they can use also for their livelihood, but also we call them in for certain projects sometimes when we're not sure exactly how to do it. The skills we've learned on the ground, and when we need professionals, we bring in professionals.
And how many beds are in your facility, and how many different, whether it's lone soldiers or students, do you have staying with you at any given time? And how long can they stay there? Is there a limit? Is it a week? Is it a month? If people want to stay their entire Army service for 2 years, 2.5 years, 3 years, I mean, how do you go about dividing? Which I'm assuming is just a limited space between all those who are seeking either a place to come as a lone soldier or as a student. How are you able to juggle all of that?
So it is quite a lot of juggling. We have about 30 sleeping areas. I'd say 25 beds and then 5 other places people sleep, like couches and things like that. But it's really juggling. Over the summers, especially a busy time with the birthright season, and we went for 2 weeks with people on the floor. Again, even though people sleep in the house, and that is a very important thing, what they're doing during the day is the most important. And when they see it that way, and we help them to see it that way, then whatever sleeping arrangements they have, they don't much. It's not the priority. We do have soldiers who totally stay their entire service. We just had one get engaged last night.
Mazal.
That's wonderful news. And so we do have soldiers stay the whole time. We have soldiers stay part of the time, either before the Army, after the Army, during the Army, in between apartments, in between different things. They leave their stuff with us. We try to take care of people the best we can with the facilities that we have. It is difficult at times with the lack of space. But we make it work. It's not a very spoiled place. We don't have a lot of people complaining. It's not really the environment.
I apologize for the noise, the listeners out there. I mean, you're hearing the sounds of Jerusalem, and you're hearing some construction. And Ben over here looks like he wants to, get involved. I see him eyeing whatever construction or repairs being taking shape here in this downtown Jerusalem hotel. By the way, we're outside the walls of the old city. I'm here with Rabbi Ben Packer. You're listening to Israel Uncensored, Land of Israel Network, landofisrael.com. My name is Josh Hasten, and it is Monday, the 25th of September, 2017, the 5th day of the new year of Tishrei. Now, Ben, let me ask you this. I mean, there's a perception out there, and, perhaps it's a stereotype, an unfortunate one, that, the religious in Israel, let's say, the religious stay with the religious, and the non-religious stay with the non-religious and whatnot. And you yourself are openly observant, and I can see, you're wearing a kippah, and you're a rabbi, and I can tell that you're observant. But the guys who come to the center, I see a very, very diverse group. I see what seems like, fraternity guys who are not religious, guys who are, or I may be looking for their spiritual side, all different types of populations or whatnot. Tell me, how does that, how are you able to work with these different communities, these different populations, perhaps, who aren't religious and come to you and are seeking not only an experience, whether it's a haven for lone soldiers or whether it's a more spiritual experience? Talk about it. What I'm asking is, talk about the diversity of those who come, because it's not what you would think, I would say. If you're just based on perhaps perception, it's much, much different than that. And I've seen the pictures and images on Facebook.
It's really all about focus. It's all about focus. What are you focusing on? In the house, we only host Jewish guests. Everybody in the house is Jewish. So that's a focus. It's a focus that everybody's Jewish. We're all part of the same people. We all descend from the same, ancestors. And that's a big deal. For the soldiers, of course, they're in the Army or they're going to the Army. And that's a big focus. Other people, everybody has their focus. If we could focus on the differences that separate us, but we don't really have time for that. We only have a day, 2 days, a week, maybe a few weeks. We don't really have time to focus on our differences. We only have time to focus on what brings us together. And it's amazing when you choose what to focus on, how nice it can be. We have incredible diversity, almost everything you can think of. And it's amazingly tranquil. Everybody gets along. People might not agree about everything, of course not. But we get along. Of course, the overwhelming number of birthright students are more liberal, more not religious. The lone soldiers tend to be more religious, more conservative. But that's not what we're focusing on. We're focusing on the unity, that unity. When you focus on the unity, it's amazing what you can accomplish. Instead of fighting about every little stupid thing, like on Facebook everybody does, we can actually just talk about things that unite us and how we can be productive together and how we can work together, and we explain things to each other. And it doesn't mean we agree all the time, but we can have a certain respect. And we don't whitewash anything there. It's not like that at all. People are very opinionated and hold very strong opinions, and the difference from Facebook is that people are living their opinions. People are serving in the army. People are building the land of Israel. People are exploring their Judaism and practicing it. This stuff is really going on. This is not theoretical. Nonetheless, we're able to have incredible unity because of where the focus is.
Yeah, I think that's what impresses me the most is breaking the stereotypes. When I see the guys in the pictures, when you take them on these different experiences, Hebron, on all these different places, I guess maybe you wouldn't expect that this type of person, again, it's breaking that stereotype, this type of person would be involved in this. You have something to say. Go ahead and add.
I was say you'd be surprised, or maybe even shocked, at how people who describe themselves as leftists jump at opportunities to help in places like Hebron. How could it be? Once they learn a little bit about the situation and they see what's really going on, they have an identity that maybe they choose to maintain for whatever reason. But when it comes to on-the-ground helping, I've had numerous people ask, just do me a favor, no pictures, but I really want to help. Don't make a thing out of this, but I want to donate money to do this. It's people who work for AIPAC. It's people who are in leftist organizations. It's all kinds of different people who, for whatever reason, it can't be public information, but when they see it on the ground, when they see what's going on, they want to help. Their Jewish soul moves them, and it's already not surprising for us.
Yeah, I say it all the time, seeing is believing. When you learn the truth about the situation here, you want to get involved and be a part of the right side, I would say, of what's going on here, regardless of what your personal politics are. Give us an example. We just finished Rosh Hashanah. We're headed to Yom Kippur. You have a full week ahead of us, pretty much, until Yom Kippur. What are some of the projects? This is an example that you're working on today, this week, with your guys. What are you working on?
So, Circus. Circus is coming up next week, and we need to build some sukkahs in certain areas to help the soldiers and the tourists. And, of course, everything that we are engaged in is about continuity. Our focus is Jewish continuity, both in identity and in the land of Israel. And so these sukkahs that we're building, God willing, they'll all stay up even after Sukkot. So these are in strategic areas, and these are designed to not only strengthen Jewish identity, Jewish practice, to show connection between Jews, but also to strengthen the Jewish presence in those areas. So we're working on sukkahs right now. We're also putting together some more projects. We're actually going to have a project, it's interesting, Jewish law over Sukkot. Generally we don't do work over Sukkot, but this particular project can only be done over Sukkot. In that case, it's allowed. So we have a project on Sukkot, which is unusual. We also have people, we get calls every day from numerous people asking for help, whether it's agricultural, whether it's sheep herding, everything you could think of. We get a lot of calls, and we try to help. But right now the focus is definitely on Circus and also getting the house ready for all the guests in Yom Kippur.
That's amazing stuff. And now you, excuse me, personally, you were in the news recently, personally, if I can ask. I think it was the Friday before last or this past Friday. No, it must have been the Friday before last, before Rosh Hashanah. Your name came up on I would call it an anti-Israel, even anti-Semitic site called Electric Intifada. They were... it was an article written, and they were attacking you personally and several other people, part of the Jerusalem Reclamation Project, I believe, those who are reclaiming Jewish property which was stolen by Arabs and others after the period of the War of Independence, when Jews had to move from their homes. The Jordanians took control over the eastern sections of the city, of course, and turned the Jewish gravestones, for example, into pathways to latrines and whatnot. But you were part of an effort. I don't know how much you were involved on the whole in terms of reclaiming some of these Jewish properties. So they wrote an article, this Electric Intifada wrote an article about you and others, Arya King and whatnot, and said that, you were this radical, stealing homes from Arabs and doing all these horrible things, and they singled you out. Just your reaction, if you can just clarify, what the reality is behind those attacks against you on that. I wouldn't call it a reputable at all publication. I'd call it more an anti-Israel or anti-Semitic publication. But they targeted you personally. I want to know your thoughts on that article.
Well, first of all, it's not the first time they've targeted. I think of my fifth appearance on the site. They probably owe me some money on that. But, it's more of a joke. They took all the information from my Facebook. So truth be told, it's all factual. They put in their little comments here and there. But anyone with a brain can see right through it. I think not only was I not actually offended too much by the article, even though it wasn't meant to attack, but I think it actually highlighted a lot of the great stuff we're doing at the Jerusalem Heritage House. But besides that, I had a very interesting interaction one time with a very important, special person in the world, Mrs. Chernomoskowitz, at the Shiva of her husband, of blessed memory. And I asked her specifically, how did the family deal with negative publicity? And she said, my husband just said it was noise. It was just noise to be ignored. So in this case, we actually read the article and made fun of it. But the truth be told, it is just noise. There really is no meaning to it. Very few people are looking at their site that actually matter. It's a lot of hot air. And the reality is that on the ground here in Jerusalem, the Jewish presence is being strengthened on a daily basis through numerous organizations and wonderful people. And, if Arabs or anybody have committed crimes or broken the law, then they're going to suffer. And if they haven't, then they're not. And they could even benefit tremendously financially. What's wrong with that? So I think you've seen a huge change here in Jerusalem and throughout the land of a strengthening of the Jewish presence. And quite frankly, I think no one is really suffering from it except for those people who have done some very ill-advised things. And it's not like the Arabs and other people don't really see that. They do. Just people have an agenda and they mislead. It's fake news, basically, fake news.
I want people to get your contact information, find out how they can help with the Jerusalem Heritage House. I don't know exactly how it works. Maybe people can sponsor a lone soldier. Maybe there are ways to get involved. You let us know. How can people get involved in this important endeavor? Helping lone soldiers, housing birthright students, going out on these amazing experiences. Again, unfortunately, which a lot of this population here in Israel doesn't get to do, going down to these places, Hebron or different parts of Jerusalem, the small kotel, as you said, which some people don't even go to that area. The closest part, the closest section to the Temple Mount, which is Judaism's holiest site. I can't tell you how many times I see people saying that the Western Wall is the holiest site in all of Judaism, and it makes my blood boil. But how can people get involved in the Jerusalem Heritage House? How can people sponsor your programs? How can people get involved in the facility itself? What can people do to make a difference in your important organization?
The best thing to do is really to be in touch, because we have our website, heritagehouse.org.il. I'm on Facebook, Ben Packer. My email is rabbibenpacker@gmail.com. But it's really important to be in touch. We're not the kind of organization. Of course, you could just send money and that would be fine. But we're not that kind of organization. We're an organization that we are building Jewish identity, even among our observant friends. So, we're connecting people who maybe live in faraway places, but we're connecting to places here in Israel that they'll never forget. Whether it's putting a window in a guard post in Hebron or putting windows in the yeshiva in the Muslim quarter in Jerusalem, or whatever it is, it's going to connect them forever. And so we don't want, I talked to somebody one time from a Jewish federation, and he told me they love lazy donors. They just send the checks, and they let them do whatever they want. That's not what we're into. We're not into lazy donors. We're into very active donors and supporters who want to be involved in projects, want to come see the projects. Yesterday, somebody donated some schach, so the top of the sukkah, and he said, but he wants to see it when he comes. And I said, you better see it when you come. That's what we want. We want people to be actively involved. So to be in touch with us, everything can be tailored to what people like. Some people like this, some people like that. Of course, it's all based on Jewish identity and strengthening the Jewish presence in Israel. But people are into different things, and even if it's something we don't do at the Jerusalem Heritage House, we have no problem sending you to other organizations, whether it's One Israel Fund, Israel Land Fund, Ateret Kohanim. No issue with that whatsoever. If that's what you want to do, we'll help you get there. We're friends with all those people. They're doing great work, and we have no problem at all, working together with everybody.
Well, I want to thank you so much for your time. I want to wish you a Gemar Chatima Tova, a meaningful Yom Kippur as we approach the holiest day on the Jewish calendar. Have a wonderful Sukkot, And I just want to wish you just much success and continue your holy work for many, many years to come. The Jerusalem Heritage House, Rabbi Ben Packer. Go check him out on Facebook. Go check him out. Check out the images and the pictures and see how he is making such an amazing, amazing impact and difference. And actually, there are people who talk and there are people who go out and do things and get things done, whether it's building sukkahs or housing lone soldiers. Ben Packer is your man. He's the main man here, actually doing things here in the land of Israel. I want to thank you for your time and wish you a Shana Tova and all the best.
Shana Tova, Chag Sameach.
And that's going to do it for today here for the 5th of Tishrei, 2017, September 25th. Josh Hasten here from a beautiful downtown Jerusalem hotel. If you're not in Jerusalem, you got to get here, people. I mean, I'm just chilling on these sofas in a beautiful hotel, and who would have thought, only 70 years after the establishment of the state, 3,000 years of Jewish history, and we are in the most wonderful time to be alive and to be Jewish here in the land of Israel, and I'm taking it all in here on a beautiful Monday morning from our eternal capital. That's it for today. Get in touch with me during the week. Josh at thelandofisrael.com on Facebook. It is Joshua Hasten on Twitter at Josh Hasten. And most importantly, as always, between now and when we speak again, Erev Sukkot next Monday, as we're getting ready for more holidays here in Israel. Most importantly, everyone out there, be safe. Shalom, shalom from Jerusalem. All the best.